Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Competent Women Leaders Show. I have a very important guest for you, and her name is Lolade Mitchell. Welcome, Lolade.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Lolade is a professional in quality and patient safety and risk management in long-term care. And we met together, Lolade, about a year ago at the Healthcare Businesswomen virtual event. And I had this, I can't believe it's been a year. And I was really focused in trying to create, I have diagnostic thinking groups, and I wanted one specifically to help me to learn as a person who doesn't look like the Black woman or a woman of color, how can I learn how to be more sensitive, and how can I learn to be more attuned to what are the needs of my fellow women? And I believe that all women are here to be able to create the change that the world needs us to be. And so it was so wonderful to have you in that group. And I want to talk a little bit about you and your journey and how you stepped into your confidence. So what would you like the audience to know about you, Lolade?
Sure. I like just a quick introduction of who I am. I call myself a God-fearing wife,
Mm.
mom, daughter, sister, and I always love to end that with friend, and boss lady. So it's been a journey for myself to kind of get myself into that position, but I'm very proud to be there. And yeah, that's me.
I love it. I love having you on the show too. And I want to thank you for your time. So I've got a couple questions for you. The first one is, what are the biggest challenges as a leader that you found for yourself?
Yeah. First, I would start with it's been a few years, but really embodying the fact that I am a leader, right? I didn't always have that title, right? Didn't always have that team, people reporting to me directly, and so sometimes that in and of itself lends people to feel that they are not a leader, which in fact is not necessarily the case. And so I think for me, all of the other stuff came afterwards when I got the confidence and the ability to see my own leadership potential, and to demonstrate that in the organization that I was at the time. And since then, I actually have been in roles like director roles, really leading the charge for various organizations in quality and patient safety and risk. And it's been a joy. And so I think for me, the first challenge was being able to identify that I am a leader. um, some other challenges are really as a leader, uh, listening, right, to all of the voices and making sure that you are getting everyone's point of view, because I think that makes for a better leader. The ability to kind of pull together everyone's ideas and assist them in coming up with the best outcome for the situation. And so, as I've been improving in my own leadership, I've been kind of fortunate to be able to engage with individuals, to have those people who are more quiet and silent in the room actually have a voice. And so, although a challenge, I think initially something that I'm learning to and making sure that I'm teasing out with those individuals that might be in a room with me or virtually, and ensuring that they have a voice and I can, be that sounding board for him or her for them.
Great points. Thank you, Lolade. You said something that's really important, and that's belief in yourself, right? And having faith in yourself. And at what point was an aha moment for you that's like, get out of my head, quit self-sabotaging myself, and step into what I believe for myself? How did you overcome that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I wish I could say that I just woke up one day and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm great." It actually didn't demonstrate itself in that way. I think for me, just a little bit of background, I do have a number of certifications and degrees. And so I actually have
Mhm.
three masters. I have a bachelor's in community health, health education. I also have a degree in nursing. And so a lot of school and was one of those people who felt like I needed to continue to attain to be able to use that to get me where I needed to go. But
Mhm.
Years ago, actually, I want to say I got someone reached out to me for a position, for a job. And it was like a LinkedIn, I don't know, I had like a little bit of information about myself out there. And someone reached out to me and was blown away. And they're like, oh my gosh, your background, what you done, and I started to realize, I was like, is it really? Like it is? Like you're impressed by that? And
Yes,
and they were. And so I think
absolutely.
yeah, for me, that really was my eye-opening that, wait, I am someone who I've done those things, right? I've gotten myself to be an expert in my field. And really the people out there are not going to necessarily see me as an expert if I don't myself see myself as an expert. So I
Mhm.
I actually think someone else brought it to my attention, and as I started to embody that more though myself and kind of speak up, to people that this is the area of expertise that I know knowledge about it, and if I don't know, I know where to find it. And so that in and of itself started for me to almost magnetize and bring other individuals to me who would again um demonstrate or describe me as being a leader or in this field. So
Mhm, mhm. I heard you say that. I work with a lot of women globally, and this is a big issue. It's being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am worthy. I
yep.
am great. I can do this. And it's this confidence thing that causes these shifts of feeling like you either are not worthy, you don't have enough. And I
Hmm.
love that you shared that story that somebody actually reminded you of that. So I love that. Thank you so much. And I certainly think you're a rock star. I thought this is the first time I met you for sure. Um, I'd love to ask you the next question.
Sure.
Things that having a system that supports kind of that development of confident leaders. And I asked
Mhm.
you to join a diagnostic thinking group with other women, specifically to help women that don't look like each other. Like so for
Yeah.
me, looking like the group, right? So it was a woman of color group, and the whole focus of this was to help me to see what I can't see, making
Sure.
sure that I'm sensitive to what I can do to support my sisters all over the world, regardless of what we look like. And I'd love to know some of your key takeaways, out of that experience. And I'd love to just hear your thoughts.
Yeah, great question. So I did have the opportunity to join that group with a number of wonderful women who some looked like me, and some looked different than me, but we all had similar viewpoints. And I would say some of us having similar struggles or challenges in the workplace. And so one of the key takeaways for me was the opportunity to be open and vulnerable. I actually think that now that I'm thinking about it, I think that also provided me the ability to be more open with people whom even in my job circle, right, like my colleagues, as well as those people who report to me, about kind of, I don't want to say my struggles but my thoughts, right, and where I am. And so one of the things that I say that I think was key in being in that diagnostic thinking group really was around being vulnerable. So I didn't know any of the women in the group. We did later kind of get to know each other and we shared a little bit about ourselves. But we were really kind of targeting things that we thought were very pressing and challenging, something that we wanted to overcome. And so imagine bringing that to a group of people that you don't know and being vulnerable and open to having them kind of, I don't want to say necessarily probe, but inquire, and make you really think about the area that's challenging you. And so for me, it was being vulnerable, but all the growth that I got in the vulnerability. And so I think that was definitely one thing. And it's something that I've kind of held on to. There's growth, and um, there's a lot that you can gain sometimes in being a little bit more vulnerable, and having people kind of really see you as a person,
Mhm.
as opposed to, this figure who's supposed to be confident all the time and their leader, but to know that sometimes you're like, I don't really know the best way to handle this situation, but we're going to figure it out. but I don't know necessarily everything all the time. So there's that. Um, the other thing that that I gathered, and it could very well be because you did bring together a group of women who, kind of might have had similar issues to myself. So I kind of saw myself in a lot of the women's shares, and so I was able to really listen in, and I wasn't taking it from a point of view where I was like, oh, well, what would I do? But more like, what do I think would be ideal for her in that
Mhm.
situation. But then later looking back at it saying, well, I've been in a very similar situation and I didn't even think to take my own advice or even think to sit through and see if I could figure this out on my
Yeah,
own. And so
yeah.
so that was an eye-opening and awakening for me as well, to to take the opportunity sometimes to just jot down what it is that you're kind of going through, and what it really is that you're trying to accomplish. I think that was a big thing for this group. If you remember, we were always like, but
Yes.
what's at the heart of what we really want, and
Yeah.
being able to tease that out, and then setting focus on that, as opposed to all of the things around it that we think we want, right? But they're not really what we're trying to get at. So yeah.
That was beautifully said. And it was a journey for me too, right? Because I had to learn a couple things when I started the group, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things that I was saying was certainly very offensive, some ways of, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. That's not how I meant that. And I do think the world has a lot of that in it,
Yeah.
and getting to the heart of the situation for women based on the fact that we really do care about each other. It's really about the care and the love for each other, wanting to help people move forward and be successful is really what the group is really about. But getting to the heart of the matter, it is so hard to do that. We can't do it on our own. I
Yeah.
couldn't do things on my own. So that's why I said, can you ladies help me get to where I need to be? And I
Yeah.
still have things that I can change and grow, but where can I go where I can help other women around the world see us for who we are? And that was what came out of that group. See me for who I am. Because when I asked everybody, what would you like the world to know? It's see me for who I am. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's beautiful. So I want to thank you for that, and all those insights. And I loved how you said it's kind of a journey, because when you first jump in, you're kind of like, I don't know about this. Everybody's like, I'm just not sure about this. But when you
Right.
create a safe space for people and people start to open up that, no one's there to judge anyone. No one's there to push anybody's agenda or,
Mhm.
cause any sort of, have people feel bad for how they think, or maybe some
Definitely.
things that you've done, right?
Yep.
And just hold a space for success for everybody. I forever grateful for this group because it helped mold me. So, and you were obviously a big part of that, Lottie. I can't
Thank you.
thank you
I
enough.
appreciate it.
What would you say to somebody who is thinking about a diagnostic thinking group? What would you tell them?
Uh, Jump in. I think I might have had, so some of the hesitations that I had initially were, oh, I don't have time. Because women leaders, we just don't have time. We've got so much going on. But first of all, you were very open and willing to kind of shift things around for our group, which was very helpful. So we met in the evening, and we made time. And the group was one in which, I mean, you remember, sometimes my kids would be in the
Yeah,
background, or other people's
we're
kids, and it
good.
was just really, yeah, it was really open and just inviting. And so all of those things that become the issues as to the reasons why you can't do it,
Yeah.
really just do it. And so I think that was for me for the first thing, definitely. And then being before you start the group, really thinking about what it is, like what has been keeping you up at night, and
Mhm.
being willing to take that to the group, and being willing to chisel through whatever that problem might be, or that issue, or that challenging. So being willing to bring in something meaty, juicy, as opposed to like, nah, it's a surface level, I don't know these people, but
Yeah.
the what you get from it is worth it if you actually bring something that's meaningful to the
Yeah. So
table.
I was going to ask you, so when you were all done, What did you feel like when you're done? Because I know there's so much apprehension on the front end for most people. What was it like
Yeah.
when you were done, when people were starting to share, their ideas and some strategies and their experiences?
Most definitely. Definitely an area of comfort, right? So you definitely you structured it in a way where we kind of almost got comfortable with each other. It's not something that you go in and you're like, it's not like we were doing icebreakers really, but it was like we did things. There were things that were structured throughout especially like the first session, that kind of really got us to kind of just get comfortable around each other,
Mhm.
and be willing to be vulnerable. So I think, kind of towards the end, you definitely had a level of comfort that you might not have had going in, being able to be open and to share. There was also like a willingness to contribute. So
Mhm.
um, it's like, again, another great part of the structure is in the way that you have the sessions go, but being open to contribute to other people, right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
and you learn when you're able to contribute to other people. So for me, it was being able to do that towards the end and getting better at it. If you remember, we always wanted to contribute like right away. We're like, I think that you should, and you're like, wait, we're not ready for that. And we're like, oh, okay. Um,
Yeah. I have to
and
play Judge Judy. It's always hard for people when I have to interrupt and say, no, we're not there.
yeah,
We're not there
not
yet. We
yet,
can't
not
do that
there yet.
yet.
Yeah, and then I would say that at the time, the issue that I think I brought to the group was pressing. But really when we like kind of got deep into it, it really provided me what I needed to make the decision on whether or not it was time for me to shift.
Yes.
And as you know, I ultimately did make a shift, and it was for the betterment of I think the organization and for me, and I was pleased to be able to do that and to do it and not feel bad about it, right? So it's one thing to be like, I'm going to shift, I'm going to change jobs, I'm going to do whatever, I'm going to change my career, and then you've got all this regret. And so having the ability to kind of chip through and really uncover what I was getting at,
Yeah.
under the surface allowed me to be able to make moves with no regrets.
I love that. I love that. Well, I am so proud of you, and I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you for
Thank you.
participating. We will be friends for life. I always watch to see where my women go.
Yay.
Congratulations on your new
Thank you.
role. And I so appreciate what I learned from you and this group. And women are changing the world. And so I want to thank you, Lolade Mitchell, for being a part of that change and being on my journey as well. So I wish you
I,
well and thank you so much.
of course, have all the best.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.